Candlepin Stars and Strikes is brought to you by the Thompson family of dealerships in Nashua, New Hampshire, and by Tri-State Megabucks and the New Hampshire State Lottery, helping New Hampshire schools one ticket at a time. WNDS Sports presents New England's favorite bowling show. From Leda Lanes in Nashua, New Hampshire, featuring the best bowlers from around the region. Candlepin Stars and Strikes. And now your hosts, Dick Lutz and Mike Morin.
Hello again, everybody, and welcome into another edition of Candlepin Stars and Strikes on WNDS TV. From Leda Lanes in Nashua, New Hampshire, Dick Lutz with Mike Morin. We have reached week 3 of our 5th ladder series of the season. We're looking for a 5th qualifier into our Tournament of Champions at the end of the year. And Craig Holbrook, a winner last week, is back again.
Hadn't seen him for 3 years, but he came back with a vengeance last week, just a little bit under 400. He and John Zappi are the two hottest bowlers as we tape this in February of the WCBC. Craig is number 1, and John Zappi is number 2, so it's very, very close, nip and tuck.
Craig defeated Joe Stella last week after Stella defeated Ed Woodside in week 1. So let's meet our bowlers this afternoon. Last week's winner, our number 3 seed from East Bridgewater, Massachusetts. Say hello to Craig Holbrook.
The lanky left-hander coming in with an average of 130, high single, 196, a high triple, 505, bowling at Hanover Bowl in Hanover, Mass.
And he rolled a 683 in the roll-off to earn the number 3 seed. A winner last week, 396 to 354 over Joe Stella. He takes on our number 2 seed from Quincy, Massachusetts. Let's welcome John Zappi.
And last year's Rookie of the Year in the WCBC, averaging 124, high single, 181. Zappi's high triple is 479. And he's bowling at Lucky Strike in Dorchester and also at the Hanover Bowl.
And John rolled a 687 in the roll-off to earn the number 2 seed. A battle of lefties this afternoon. Craig Holbrook and John Zappi. We're coming back for this afternoon's match right after this on WNDS TV's Candlepin Stars and Strikes. Don't go away. We began with 5 of the top bowlers in the world in this ladder series. There you see them. Joe Stella first week beat Ed Woodside. Then Craig Holbrook last week defeated Joe Stella. Setting up this afternoon's match with John Zappi and Craig Holbrook, with Jeff Surrett waiting in the wings as the number 1 seed. We're ready to go, and Craig Holbrook will be first to bowl here this afternoon against John Zappi. And we're happy to have you with us for Candlepin Stars and Strikes on WNDS TV. A battle of the Southpaws.
And you're one yourself.
I am. First ball off the head pin for Craig Holbrook. 396 last week. He was a lock for 400 after 2 strings. 3 with 286. And he does not convert the spare. He had 286 and a very large lead over Joe Stella. And he just bowled a 110 in the 3rd string and posted the victory. Starts with a 10.
Yeah, Joe Stella made it interesting during the 3rd game, cut the margin roughly in half, but couldn't keep the momentum going, and Holbrook laced a couple of marks at the end and iced the victory.
By now, as people are watching this match, Michael, you and I have had our head-to-head match at Pilgrim Lanes, and I have probably beaten you. I say, holding my breath.
Not too presumptuous on your part.
And prior to the match, I bowled a couple of practice strings at Fast Lanes in Stowe, and I wanted to acknowledge Ross Wheeler, the owner proprietor at Fast Lanes. That's a 4-box by Craig Holbrook. When's the last time we saw a 4-box?
Well, it's the last time you bowled, I think.
Yeah, but not on TV, on camera, in front of a big crowd like this. So that's a 4-box for Holbrook, and now we see John Zappi for the first time. John, the lefty, very stylish, spread eagle. So both bowlers struggling at the outset. Anyway, Fast Lanes on Route 117 in Stowe, Massachusetts. As I mentioned ago, when we were there, Ross Wheeler was telling us that he had a weekend booked with birthday parties, a great place for youngsters to become introduced to Candlepin bowling and learn about all of the fun and excitement that goes along with it, as John Zappi starts out with an 8-box. Ross does a nice job at his establishment. in a little shopping center in Stowe right on Route 117. So next time you're in the area, stop in at Fast Lanes and say hello to Ross Wheeler on Route 117 in Stowe, Massachusetts.
And ask for the Dick Lutz discount. Bowling for free.
John Zappi, a 9 drop.
Actually, that used to be Kroll Bowl back years ago, and Ross took it over. Did a great job with it.
John with a mark. So the early lead to John Zappi.
Ten Candlepin titles in the WCBC. Next, the only person above him is the great Tommy Olsta. He and Peter Flynn, actually, who is retired from bowling now, also has 10 tour titles. And Craig Holbrook told us last week it'll take at least another 10, 12 years. He's fortunate enough to catch Olsta. That assumes that Tommy doesn't win anymore, although Tommy's not very active on the Pro Tour these days. He's hitting a few invitationals, I'm told.
That'll be a 9 box for Craig.
Although we did see Tom Olsta last year in the
Sure
Tournament of
did.
Champions, and boy, it was great to have him back before his adoring public on TV.
And he made his presence felt, didn't he?
He did indeed.
Craig's from East Bridgewater.
Oh,
We've seen that before.
that's the 1, 8, and 9 taken out. It's the spread eagle with a 5-pin in there.
And look at this. He's been bowling for 34 years. That's a long time. He works in fountain setup for the Coca-Cola Company. He and Rose have been married for 15 years. Mara and Victoria are their children. John Zappi from Quincy, Massachusetts. Another pretty significant hotbed for Candlepin bowling down in the South Shore area. We talked about North Shore bowlers early on. In our first match, we had Joe Stella and Ed Woodside from the North Shore of Massachusetts. Now we're down to the South Shore area with John Zappi and Craig Holbrook.
A couple other terrific bowlers from the South Shore are here watching today. Scott Creighton and Bobby Whitcomb, who was in the Tournament of Champions, who had a 458 triple last year to qualify. Although he didn't do as well in the finals, he doesn't have great seating, but boy, I tell you, he had a 458 for one of his weak
Is
drills.
that going? I swear it was halfway over and came back up. If we get a chance to see that again, you'll see that pin bend over and come back. That's the 4-pin still standing. And John Zappi will clean it up for a 10 box. That was really bizarre. Watch that pin. Watch this. The 4-pin right in the middle. It's going to get hit. Stay with it. Stay with it. There it goes. Look at bend.
Oh, my. But it
And
stood
then it
back
straightens up. It backed
right
right
away
up.
to pin.
Yep.
If the pin would have gone away, it would have fallen.
John threw it past the head pin there, and he gets some great backdoor action and just has the head pin standing. And that'll be a mark for John Zappi. He should have 3 marks in a row. Craig Holbrook on lane 34.
He was the WCBC Pro Bowler of the Year in 1997 and 98, Rookie of the Year, 87-88 season.
I was interested in what he had to say after last week's match, Mike, about his ball moving on the lanes at Leda Lanes. How some lanes are different than others in their finish and their action at the end. He thought his ball at the very end of the roll at Leda Lanes down on the channel, on the playing surface there, on the plate, if you will, did some movement, had some movement to it that it does not have in some other places.
Yeah, it all depends on how the bowling proprietors dress their lanes, how often they put a little bit of oil on, if they treat it with anything. That'll make a difference. He's got, as he said it, I think a bit of a backspin. And the ball will break depending on the lane surface.
And when
how
the
it's
ball
dressed.
is moving at the end of the delivery, it really creates action in the pins.
Yeah.
It's like a pitcher with a fastball. A lot of pitchers can throw fastballs the same speed. It's the ones that have movement on their pitch at the end of the delivery when the ball's getting to home plate that are successful. A pitcher with a 95-mile-an-hour fastball with movement would be more effective than a pitcher with a 100-mile-an-hour fastball with no movement.
Yeah, makes sense.
$9 for Craig Holbrook, 51 through 6. He's going to need a mark or two to get to 100. John Zappi is a shipping manager at Ellsworth Supply, a plumbing and heating business. Working on a spare, and he picks up a spread eagle. An early 17-pin lead for John Zappi, box to box.
He was ranked number 8 last year in the WCBC, and he was Rookie of the Year. That's the highest ranking rookie for all the new bowlers in any given season. And that was him. And he was also number 8 with all the other bowlers, all the more seasoned professionals. So he had a good year. And he's number 2 this year, right behind the man he's facing today, Craig Holbrook.
Just 28
running
years
total.
Old
yeah,
for John Zappi. Threw it by the head pin again, and just 3 pins fall.
He's allowing Craig Holbrook to stick around, despite the fact Holbrook only has 51 through 6.
That's a nice spare for John. Well done, right in the pocket. Watch it again. He threw it right in the 1-2 pocket. Would have been a great strike ball. But he cleaned up the spare. Now Craig Holbrook on lane 34. We'll get to your emails and letters during the course of the match. We love hearing from you, of course. Our email address is bowling@WNDS.com. Our mailing address is WNDS TV, 50 Television Place, Derry, New Hampshire, 03038. And Holbrook with the spare. He got it the hard way. That wasn't how he intended for it to go. He had to rely on a piece of wood bouncing off the wall and coming back to get the back pin, which was the 9 pin, I believe. On the spare. Put 8 in the mark.
You're a lefty. Wouldn't you love to be able to fling the ball like that?
Oh, I can.
What are you saving it for?
Sunday. He missed the spare. As we tape this upcoming Sunday is the day that Michael and I will go head-to-head.
In reality, it happened on February the 9th.
$10 and 79. He still needs another mark to get to 100. John Zappi is working on a mark.
Talking about fast lanes, Dick and Stowe. Maybe if I talk about it, I get some free strikes too. Anyway, that's where
I could arrange it for you, probably.
John Zappi won his first pro tour there last March, 1 year ago. So he likes that bowling center as well.
9-pin drop on the spare. The 7-pin for John. He will make it. Just hugged the edge of the lane. I thought it was going to drop off. 2 marks in a row, 4 marks in the string for John Zappi. Of course, we give $50 for 3 marks in a row. Our triple strike jackpot has an even $1,000 in it.
And we had a bonus ball winner last week.
We did.
For $130.
There's a $50 shot for John Zappi right there, and he's 1/3 of the way to 1,000. Watch it again. 1-2 pocket perfectly thrown. 5 marks in the first string for John Zappi. He's on his way to a big number. Craig Holbrook is trying to hang on for dear life. Bounced one down, caught the pocket. Well, he got a break. He broke the split, and he leaves just the 2-pin. The 6-pin was hanging around for a while and caved in at the end. The 2 by itself, and Holbrook just nudges it over. Just did get a piece of the pin.
There's a smile from the big guy.
Second mark of the string. And he could use another one right now because John Zappi's piling it on. He threw a good ball, and look at what he's got. Oh, my.
That wood is coming out probably not to where he'd like it to be.
Well, this is a situation where you play the wood on the left, I think, and you just hope for something. He might try to bounce the ball off the wood on the right. That's what he did.
Yep, capped it, slid it over.
It's a nice shot. It's a great shot. Watch it again. He played the wood on the right, and it just went perfectly. These guys know the angles, don't they?
They've seen everything in their careers.
On the spare, right through, put two in the mark.
Oh, what a horrible time to do that.
Punched it right straight through the middle, took the 1 and the 5 and nothing else.
Man.
And a 107 first string for Craig Holbrook, finishing with 3 marks in the last 4 boxes. John Zappi is already at 106 plus a couple of balls. And he punched it right through with a spread eagle. Working on a spare, $50 in bonus money for Zappi, looking for another 25 with a mark here, but this is not an easy shot. So put 6 in the strike. And an 8 box, and he's at 120 with 1 more box to go. So 13 pins plus whatever John Zappi gets in the 10th frame will be his margin after 1 string.
Looks like he'll hit his average of 124. Craig Holbrook falling short, though, with a 107 of his 130 average.
Well, he threw it past the head pin. He's got a tough shot here, although he made one similar a couple of boxes ago. Got a piece of wood in the back to help out. Will it go? Everything but the 6 pin. He's at 129. 129 it is for John Zappi in the first string, and a 22-pin lead over Craig Holbrook after 1. 2 more to go. Don't you dare go away. Come on back when we return to Leda Lanes in Nashua for Candlepin Stars and Strikes on WNDS-TV. John Zappi takes a 22-pin lead into string number 2 at Leda Lanes in Nashua, New Hampshire, as we welcome you back to WNDS-TV's Candlepin Stars and Strikes. Dick Lutz with Mike Morin. And John Zappi starts with a 9-pin drop. Mike Morin, of course, host of the hugely successful New Hampshire in the Morning radio show on WZID FM 95.7, just coming through an outstanding ratings period as John missed the spare. Of course, you have a lot of help.
Well, my family listens.
10 box for John.
You may be referring to my partners, Nancy Robbins, News, Ed Bruder with traffic, and Mike Ellis with weather. We'd like to congratulate Mike Ellis and his wife, Kathy, giving birth to twins on February 1st. So here's a couple that are both over 40, and they've got 3 kids under 18 months of age.
Wow. Wow.
Terrific parents, though, and congratulations to Mike and Kathy Ellis.
Talking to Sean Howard, the manager here at Leda Lanes earlier between tapings.
Yep.
Sean has 6 children, including a set of twins. My goodness gracious.
Well, there was a time when having that many children was not terribly unusual.
Zappi with a 10 box to start out, then a spare. There's Craig Holbrook starting out with a bang.
He's going to need more where that came from. He's down 22 pins.
Right in the 1-3 pocket. It was the 6 pin that was last to go, kicked out by a piece of wood bouncing off the wall. And Holbrook looks for 2 in a row. He threw a great ball. The 5 and the 9 still stand. Boy, you wonder how those 2 pins survived that, because that ball was right where it should have been. And now he picks the 5 pin cleanly. So 9 in the strike, no mark in the second box. 10 box. Kevin LaFawn's our director this afternoon. Keith Webb is our engineer. Kevin Sheehan, Dean Zanello, and John Elias are working the cameras. Don Cronin's on replay. Cheryl Sylvia is handling graphics. Alex Kallerstoff's on audio. And they're all making it possible for you to watch the best Candlepin bowlers, not just in New Hampshire, not just in Massachusetts, but in the world, each and every week right here on WNDS-TV's Candlepin Stars and Strikes. John missed the spare. Bounced one down and has to settle for an 8 box. John and his wife, speaking of families and twins and children, and John and Leanne were married in December of 2000. John enjoys golf and a little sports memorabilia collecting in his spare time. And he enjoys throwing balls right in the 1-2 pocket, as he did right there. Leaving just the 6-pin.
Dick, you talk about spare time when we do the pre-interviews here for the bowlers to get a little biographical information. Every time I say, so what do you like to do in your spare time? I usually get a, yeah, what's spare time? Yeah. Who's got any these days?
Craig Holbrook trailing John Zappi. For a good first ball and trying to get some help. The 9 and the 10 piece of wood there makes it possible. Got to cap that wood on the right or get it right to the very left side of it. Just like that. Spare for Craig is his second mark in 3 boxes. Trying to pick up some ground on John Zappi. He needs to match Zappi's mark here in the 4th frame. And he does with a strike. So we go to the break. Both bowlers are working on marks. When we come back to Leda Lanes in Nashua, New Hampshire with more of WNDS-TV's Candlepin Stars and Strikes. We'll be right back. John Zappi on lane 34 at Leda Lanes in Nashua, New Hampshire. John has a 9-pin lead in the match. Both he and Craig Holbrook are working on marks. John right through the middle, threw a good first ball. He got a break with some of the action. He turned his back to the pins, didn't see the end of that, where about 3 or 4 pins fell after he turned his back.
Have an email, Dick, from Bob McEdward in Pelham, New Hampshire. Says, hey guys, watch every week. You guys do a great job, as do the bowlers. For information, the January issue of the Smithsonian Magazine has a good article on the bowling alley in the White House and how it's been used over the years. So if you're a subscriber to the Smithsonian Magazine, check back if you didn't see it in January for a little something. I know Richard Nixon was very active when he was president. There were always pictures of him in the magazine bowling with his necktie down in the basement of the White House. I think they have 2 10-pin lanes there. Don't know if W uses the lanes at all.
I wonder if it's a place where the interns hang out.
I did not go bowling with that woman.
John will be open in the 6th frame. So open 2 frames in a row. And the door is open for Craig Holbrook to get back into the match.
And he's working on a strike. It's always
2 marks in a row, actually.
That's true. It's always premature to mention the triple strike jackpot, but $1,000, it adds $25 every week that it doesn't get hit. It hasn't been hit this season yet.
$1,000.
Actually, it may have been earlier on, now that I think of it. Possibly the first week.
Watch out. There they go. Well, back door. He'll take it. It was a backdoor strike, and now we're looking at a $1,000 shot. Watch the shot. He missed the head pin.
Oh, my.
The 4 horsemen on the right side were still standing, and it came back to go. This is a $1,000 shot for Craig Holbrook for 3 strikes in a row. You watch. Here we go. Right through the middle.
That must be so devastating. You know, the ball's on the way down. It's heading for the number 1 pin where it should be, and then you punch out 2.
You say you got a shot at it. You know, you think to yourself, you got a shot at it because it's right down the middle.
And that pretty close to ties up our match through the midway point. Slight advantage to Holbrook now by 2 pins.
Zappi Tough shot here for John. Ooh, he almost bounced it off the wall and made the shot. This game is incredible. Every week we watch it, more amazing things happen.
It's a game you never get bored with.
One bowler is hot one string, the next bowler is hot the next string. Leads disappear in short order. John crosses over to Brooklyn, and there they go. Watch it again. John going across the head pin, put it on the 1-3 side, and great action at the end of the shot for a strike. Now Craig Holbrook looks to start another streak of marks. John Zappi's 1/3 of the way to $1,000. Holbrook with a spare. Yeah, they're starting to make shots now. That's the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5th mark of the string for Craig Holbrook. That 2 fill inside the 12, actually inside of the strike. Didn't help. Craig's kind of orchestrate this, as you see. He's a little frustrated that that pin rolled out as far as it did. He would have liked to have had it back closer to the head pin. He's going to play it anyway and miss it. Oh. Yep. Yeah. He thought he was going to make the shot. He thought he had enough play there.
He may have gone a little too far on the end of the pin, because that should have covered it with a better hit.
And he has to settle for a 10 box.
Well, he has taken the lead in this game, unless Zappi throws 2 more strikes.
What was a 22-pin lead for John Zappi has disappeared. Zappi throws a pretty good first ball, and he's got a pretty good opportunity here. With the 3, 6, 10 and a couple of pieces of wood, you can go at this a couple of ways. He went right at the pin, which is not the way I would have gone at it. Is he going to make it? That pin wobbles. It's still wobbling. The 3 pin still stands. The 6 and the 10 went. The lead pin did not. And that will be a 10 box for John Zappi. He tried to put a mark inside the strike.
It's a 4-pin match through 18 frames, with Craig Holbrook having a very narrow advantage.
10th frame for Zappi.
Well, that looked like a strike, didn't it?
Sure looked like a great ball.
7-9 with some wood.
I think John would like to see that pin on the right roll back and stay out of the way. Now he's got a shot at that wood in between the 2 pins to try to deflect the wood into the 5 pin and the ball into the 7 pin, the 9 pin, I should say. He went the other way at it. He didn't play it the way I would have. Which isn't to say that I would have made the shot, but it's not how I would have approached it. And a 9 box for John and a 119. Now Craig Holbrook already at 126. Craig needs 15 pins in the last 2 boxes to tie the match. Anything above 15 gives him the lead in the match. He's going to get more than 15. Shall we try again?
Money's still there.
Watch it again. He buried it into the 1-3 pocket. The 5 and the 8, the last 2 to dance. Missed the head pin. Look at this. Look at this.
Jeez.
He was nowhere near the head pin, and he still almost made a strike. Yeah. And he takes a spare.
This is reminiscent back in the 5th frame when he missed the head pin and still ended up getting a strike.
He's at 156 plus a ball. So he leads the match by 15 pins plus whatever he gets on this ball. So he came from 22 down after 1. And almost a 9-pin drop. And a total of 165 for Craig Holbrook in the second string, and a 24-pin lead in the match over John Zappi. We're headed to string number 3. There's your mailing address. We'd love to hear from you. And we'll be back with the third string in just a moment on WNDS-TV's Candlepin Stars and Strikes. Craig Holbrook will be first to bowl in string number 3.
Well, a 165 game for Craig Holbrook. His high ever is 196. One of very few bowlers that's cracked the 500 mark for 3 strings at 505. And there's a half whisper out of the right side. Five, 6, 8, 10 remain. Best you're going to do is probably an 8 on this.
He almost got more, but he gets the 8. Harry Carr from Exeter sent us an email, Mike. He wants to know whatever happened to Don Gillis and Bob Gamere, 2 of the great names in Candlepin bowling over the years. Of course, Don with the old Channel 5 show for many years, and Bob Gamere with the legendary Candlepins for Cash, which was a cult-like show back in the 70s. Gillis is retired in Florida. And Bob Gamere, I worked with Bob a few years ago. We did a show on WNDS-TV, Channel 50, a sports rap show, and I haven't talked to him in a couple of years. He's living in the Boston area, doing quite well, writes a newspaper column for a Las Vegas newspaper, last I heard, and is doing quite well.
Well, I don't know if he still has it. He had, I guess, kind of a service for those who like to make a wager on football.
I believe
games.
he still does.
The Great Gamere, isn't that what he called himself?
Bob is really knowledgeable when it comes to horse racing. It's one of his real passions, and he really knows his stuff.
I was not living in the area during the days of the Candlepins for Cash, but I understand it was wildly popular.
You don't know what you missed.
There must be some old tapes of that lying around.
Yeah, it was
Love
really
to see it.
John Zappi with a mark.
And he's quite the colorful character. I've never met Mr. Gamere, but the stories are out there.
Bob's a good guy. I like him a lot. He was great to work with. Very true professional. Went to Holy Cross, was the broadcaster for Holy Cross football and basketball games for many years, then had a fling with the Yankees, the New York Yankees, as a radio play-by-play guy. Then he came back and did sports on Channel 7 in Boston for many years, then 56 in Boston. John Zappi, a couple of marks to start out.
Well, Craig Holbrook took a 24-pin lead into this game, and John Zappi is intent of taking those pins back. 2 marks against 2 open frames.
Yeah, we're
Craig
just about
Holbrook.
even. That should make the match pretty close to even.
Very entertaining match between these 2 left-handers.
Holbrook right on the head pin again, and really a soft hit on the head pin. 4 and 7 on the left, 3, 5, 6, 10 to the right. And there go the 4 on the right. The 4 and the 7 with a piece of wood. That'll be a 10 box, and he'll be happy to take it. He had trouble in the 3rd string last week. You may recall.
110.
Against Joe Stella. He started out with 8 open frames before marking in the final 2 frames. And look at this, another backdoor almost strike. He took about a 50-pin or 60-pin lead into the 3rd string and actually let Joe Stella get back into the match a little bit.
He toyed with him.
And the mark by Holbrook in the 4th frame. Now Zappi, he's box to box down 11, less whatever he gets on this ball. He put it right on the head pin, and he put 9, so that makes it a 2-pin match. Oh, look at that. It was going right at the pin, and it got knocked away. That piece of wood can be your friend. It can be your enemy. John has to take a 10 box. Remember that one. That could come back to haunt him. That was going right at it. If the wood's not there, it's a spare. And now look at this, the 7 and the 8 with nothing there to help out.
So what do you think in the overall scheme of things for spare shooting? Is the wood more helpful or more of a hindrance?
I'd say it's more helpful.
Overall?
90% of the time.
90?
I think it's that high, yeah.
I don't know if I'd put it that high.
It gives you much more of an area to shoot at in most cases. It creates possibilities in cases where none exist, like there. I mean, it created a possibility there where if the wood were not there, there would be no possibility. 9 for John Zappi. So the match stands this way. It's a 3-pin lead for Craig Holbrook, plus whatever he gets on this next ball as he works on a spare. When we come back from the break, Candlepin Stars and Strikes continues from Leda Lanes in Nashua, New Hampshire. You are watching WNDS-TV. All right, Craig Holbrook working on a spare, has a 3-pin lead, plus whatever he gets on this ball, with 6 frames remaining in the match. Working on a spare, the lefty from East Bridgewater. Missed the head pin. Got the 1, 2, 10 with wood, 7 in the spare.
This is his 5th appearance on WNDS.
Nice spare by Craig.
Last time he was bowling another left-hander we haven't seen for a while, Rich Clark.
Watch it again. There the wood helped him a lot on that spare. It scattered everything and took out the 10-pin.
He defeated Rich Clark, and then the following week was beaten by Sean Baker, 396 to 357. And today he bowls another left-hander, John Zappi, in a very even match.
Well, the wood rolled off the deck there. He would have liked it to stay. It's a tough shot. The 4, 6, 10. So he will be open in the 6th frame. John Zappi needs a couple of marks to climb back in now. That'll be a 10 box. John needs at least 1 mark in these 2 frames to stay in the match. John Zappi, lane 34. Right through the middle. Didn't want to see that happen.
Spread eagle plus the 9-pin. And a very, very difficult spare. No wood, of course, to help.
So John will be open in the 5th frame, where Craig Holbrook marked. That'll be an 8 box for John.
Our runner-up today, $550. The winner takes on Jeff Surratt, who's the top seed in this current ladder. Second to last ladder of the year. 2 weeks from today, our 6th and final ladder to determine our 6th bowler for the Tournament of Champions, which gets underway in April, as it does every year.
That time Zappi off the head pin. A lot of stuff at the end of the shot. Look at this. They continue to fall. You know, John's got a pretty clear shot. Well, from his angle, he doesn't have a real clear shot at the 610. He's got to get by that piece of wood.
Doesn't want the wood.
Well, wow.
That wasn't supposed to happen.
I don't think so. I don't think so. I think in his heart of hearts, he knows he's a very lucky young man right now.
You know he does.
Watch it again. Clipped the wood, and it put the ball into the 6, and the 6 went into the 10.
Oh, man.
I don't think it was on the drawing board that way. But he'll take it as Craig Holbrook on lane 34. He buried it in the pocket and left the 5-pin. The mark for Holbrook in the 7th frame as he attempts to put some distance between he and John Zappi.
High string of the day, of course, Craig Holbrook's 165. If that holds, and it looks like it will, he wins $50 in addition to what other bonus money.
Look at that shot.
That's the 1 in the 8 that went out.
You couldn't do that if you stood there 100 times and tried to do it.
No, you couldn't.
Well, he just put 2 in the spare, and he's going to be happy with the 10 box here. Well, John is up against 1 mark. He needs a double mark here badly. He needs to put 3 in a row together badly. He's working on 1. A strike would be very helpful. Very helpful.
But a 9 fill and a clean shot on the 8-pin will do.
Right on the pin. John Zappi, good shot. Looks easy, but trust me when I tell you it's not as easy as it looks.
He is still very much alive, Dick, in this match.
A mark here would make things very interesting. Very interesting.
Another 9 fill against the Craig Holbrook 2.
There's a piece of wood there that's dangerous, unless it's
going to move.
If it stays where it is, it's okay, I think.
But he still has the tip of that pin in the forefront that could deflect the ball. Should make it, though.
Tough shot here. There it goes. He's got it. He went right by it. 3 marks in a row, $50 in bonus money. He has 100 in the match.
He's going to take the lead with the decent fill.
Watch it again as he had a clear shot at the 10-pin, and he went right at it.
What a great finish this will be to take on Jeff Sparê, the top seed, next week.
Now Holbrook needs to mark.
He does. He's trailing.
Didn't throw a good ball, but look at what he's got.
Doesn't matter sometimes, does it?
The 1 and the 10. That 2 in the spare really hurt him a lot. Ooh. Wow. Just missed. That'll be a 9 box. He's in 101. He needs a mark badly right here.
The number 1 and number 2 bowlers in the WCBC as of mid-February, squaring off for the right to play the championship round next week with Jeff Sparê.
Yeah, Holbrook a 107 in the first string, a 165 in the second string, and a spread eagle there. And John Zappi's going to win this match,
barring total collapse.
Look at this. Oh, he almost made the shot. The 111. Any kind of a fill in the spare for Zappi, and he's going to win the match. He needs 23 pins to win the match. John's going to win the match. There it goes. The strike for John Zappi. He will win this match.
And he gets a nice hand from his opponent, gentleman Craig Holbrook.
A 22-pin lead in the first string for Zappi. He lost it in the second string to Holbrook's 165, and he comes back to win the match. And look at this. Now we're looking at a $1,000 shot for John Zappi. Holbrook had a $1,000 shot earlier in the match. $1,000 on the line for John Zappi. $1,000 on the line. Oh, look at this. Oh, no. My. The 7-pin stands.
And it was a beautiful hit.
Oh. And he finishes with a 10, a spare in the strike. He runs the table in the last half of the string, finishes with a 172 to win the match with a 420 to Craig Holbrook's 383. What a string for John Zappi. What a half for John Zappi. The half was 107. A 107 half, is that right?
No. He had a 65 half.
Right?
But then you're right,
107 half for John Zappi.
Second half of the game.
Holy cow. We'll come back to talk to the bowlers in just a minute as John Zappi beats Craig Holbrook. We're coming back to Leda Lanes in Nashua right after this on WNDS TV's Candlepin Stars and Strikes.
Afternoon's match, 420 to 383 as Zappi beats Holbrook.
crazy match. You had a 165 in the middle there, and you take the lead, and then you watch John throw his magic up in the third string.
Well, it's like a good, hard-fought football game, I guess. Momentum swings are big, even in bowling. Mental momentum swings and, you know, the pinfall physical momentum swings.
You had a shot at the triple strike jackpot. You put 2 on the board, and you threw a great ball. It looked to us watching it, and then, boom.
When I let it go, it felt real good, but I hit the exact middle.
Took out the 1 and the 5, and just a 2-pin fill, and there goes the opportunity, and we'll talk to John about his shot at the triple strike jackpot later on. But we want to give you the runner-up money, $550. You have $50 in bonus money as well, and thanks for being with us, Craig. We'll look forward to seeing you again. Craig Holbrook, our runner-up here this afternoon. And now John Zappi will step up to lane 33, and we'll roll the ball. We'll try to match him up with one of you at home. We gave away $130 last week, so we're back to $10 in the jackpot, and we'll start building it up again if we don't have a winner here this afternoon. Here's John, and it will be a 7. Let's see if Mike Morin can pull out another winner. This is Dot. I'm trying to read. Is it Giggy or Jiggy? Gagney or something like that. I can't even read the writing, but Dottie from Winnisquam, New Hampshire. You picked a 7.
Wow.
2 weeks in a row. We gave it away. A $10 winner here for Dottie, and we'll send the check over, and we'll call John Zappi right over here. And, you know, Craig had a chance at the triple strike jackpot. You had a shot at the triple strike jackpot. You came an awful lot closer. You threw a great ball.
I thought I had it.
We thought you had it, too. We were writing the check.
Yeah, that's all right. I was just glad to win.
Great finish, a 107 second half in the third string. That's an awful great second half. You haven't had many like that, I'll bet, along the way.
No, not many at all. I was just concentrating on pinning and trying to win the match, that's all.
Well, you've had certainly a great year. You are number 2 behind Craig Holbrook as we tape today. When the show is aired in March, of course, things may have changed by then. But you were Rookie of the Year last year. So when did things all of a sudden start to click and kick in for you? Because you've had a great year.
I would say this year. I mean, the last 3 stops, I've been bowling well, 1,300 or better. Came in second at the leader. I've just been throwing a good ball, and it's been working for me.
Anybody working with you or practicing more? All of a sudden, it just seems like, wow, John Zappi's all over the place.
It just a lot of years of bowling, that's all. Just, you know, doing the best that I can.
You got a tough kid next week.
Yes, I do. Oh, yes.
And we'll look forward to seeing you then, too. Thanks, John Zappi, our winner. We've got some bonus money to give you, too. $50 for having the high string, $175 in bonus money as well, and a chance to move up the ladder next week and bowl for the championship.
Well, it was 4 weeks ago we saw Jeff Surratt being beaten by Mike Morgan. Now Jeff Surratt sits atop of the ladder. He has a chance to maybe make that good next week.
Next week's winner moves on to the Tournament of Champions at the end of the year, so there's an awful lot at stake. And we'll look forward to seeing you as well when John Zappi takes on Jeff Surratt. From Mike Morin and our entire crew from Leda Lanes in Nashua, New Hampshire, I'm Dick Lutz. Thanks for watching, everybody. We'll see you next time on Candlepin Stars and Strikes on WNDS TV. And as our friends at Leda Lanes always like to remind you, let's go!